Hold on. Let me make sure. Everything is good. We are good and ready to rock. Yes, online and online. All right. So today we are back. Gilded Sages, myself, the Black Anglo Saxon, my housemates, Inquisitive Q, my man over here, Quan the Poet, and we back today with another conversation. This one is titled "Passing in America," and it's titled "Passing in America" because we today will be discussing not only passing culturally and racially, we are going to be discussing the basics of passing the hot potato. So today we'll be talking about Cardi B, Candace Owens, Kamala Harris is in the news for some chucks and all that. And then we'll also, of course, we never run out of ammo with our guy, Mr. Donald J. Trump. He's like a walking, talking medium. And so it's a more, just regular fluid conversation. Go ahead.
You ain't doing man Trump. The justice. Trump keeps journalists paid with the level of spin he offers them.
You're right.
Trump is the man. He's the master marketer that sold America to America.
Can you not always jump to the end of the goddamn session?
I'm sorry, but he needed that.
Man,
you gotta respect.
We talking about passing this hot potato. We gonna get there.
But I like the potato. I'm sorry.
God, lay off the starch.
But I need it.
Hey, but nah, before we get into this conversation, man, we having fun tonight. If you go over to the Zoom, which is on my Facebook, we're going to put it up in the thread as well. Here you go, bro. Take this off my hands, please. And so while you're doing that, please, if you're watching already, like the video, share while we're having a conversation, make sure to comment. And then we'll let you all know when we're going to open up the lines to call in. But we definitely do want you guys' opinions on all of these different things because we aren't really, doing the formal session that we usually do. It's just a conversation amongst us about some things that we saw in the news. And we're going to flip it for us.
Yeah, and it's a good time to come in our head.
So like the video, share the video. First up, we have the Cardi B and Candace Owens. I don't even want to call it a beef because it's not really a beef. They basically, short story. I'm sure most people have already seen it. If you haven't, you could just throw your name into Google, and I'm sure you will get 1 million hits on as to the conversation that they had. So, brief summary. Cardi B made some comments as it pertains to what she wanted in terms of the society, along with taxes, along with some other accommodations as it pertains to American politics. Candace Owens, which I do agree with her in terms of acknowledging that Cardi B is now in political territory, makes a video in response to say that Cardi B, one, doesn't necessarily understand politics, but in her ask of, free schools, free education, and then also not necessarily wanting to be taxed for that, she attacked and made several arguments on top of that, and even going so far as to, talk about Donald Trump and how he invited her to the RNC. We'll get into that later. Because Cardi B said that,
who to the RNC?
Candace Owens. Because Cardi B had said that, you just working for white massa. And we're going to get into that too, because they both working for white massa. If she wants to be technical in that sense. I get where she was going. It was a dub.
I thought it was going to be light tonight.
No, it's going to be light in terms of formal work. But it's still going to be heavy. We had heavy conversations, baby. And so, before I pass the buck off to you, kind sir, like the video, share, comment. How did you feel about it? we want to see, we want to engage it because I really just want to have a conversation. I've been seeing the online conversations, but I really want to have some in persons that like it's crazy because I don't think they're gonna be right. But let me hear what you got to say, Mister Man, about the whole situation.
Hashtag protect black women. You know how I feel about white liberals, and how white liberals have this history of being preferential towards the black American community.
Yeah.
And Cardi B is Dominican. She had this whole thing like, I'm black, to kind of stamp herself that she's black. I believe she is Dominican. I know she's from New York. Dominican.
I know she's not black. I'm about to check.
Nope. Go ahead, because Dominicans has a huge cultural history of separating themselves from black.
I know.
And what's important about that is that the DNC, who decided this when we Kente called Wakanda Forever, and Neil, instead of delivering policy that's needed, is going to talk to Joe Biden. Joe Biden decides to talk to Cardi B. And this is where I agree with Candace Owens. But what's more important is with Candace Owens going at Cardi B is like, now when you say hashtag protect black women, which type of black women are we talking about? The liberal or the conservative? Because if we're protecting black women, then we got to also protect Candace Owens. And say what Candace Owens is right. Cardi B is not a sophisticated political consumer of policy. Cardi B is not correct in being in a position to speak on the behalf of people when she's talking about WAP. So, and this is not me being misogynist and WAP, because, you know, they got a new term.
They're going to come for
It's a new term for black man, mansplaining, whatever. Let's go ahead.
Let's go.
That's on it. Put that in the comment section. I'd love to respond to that later on. But my whole thing is that with this, you really get this conversation about, and are they moving away from Cardi B but keeping it under the umbrella of Cardi B and Candace Owens, protect black women, which the liberal or the conservative, because we have conservatism in our families, in our friend groups. Excuse me. And Kanye even talked about how you have black people who voted for Trump because it benefits them, but they don't talk about it. So with Candace basically outing Cardi B and saying that you're not in a position to speak to Joe Biden, and that in white America would say that you're pandering because you're not speaking to someone that can hold you accountable. When she was on Ben Shapiro, Candace, as she gets people all the time on the technicalities, it's right. It's like, no. If we are saying that white America needs to hold their leaders accountable, then we as black America needs to hold our leaders accountable and say Cardi B is not a leader. It's like, you're not a leader in the same sense of a Cicely Tyson, because Cicely Tyson also, on top of being a phenomenal performer, was informed. So if you're not informed about the issues, don't speak on them.
And we're talking about a whole generational divide. And in terms of your comments about, the whole protect black women conversation, you have told me not to speak on it many a time. I wrote about it inside The Death of a Nigga Boy, which you all can all check out at Politics and Prose. Because I talk about...
Shameless plug.
Glamorous on Warriors, right? Because what happens is, man, matter of fact, shout out to Ados as well. Check out the Ados shirt. Because going into your point, when we talk about a Yvette Carnell, who catches hella flack from both conservative as well as the liberal side. So she's in like this political limbo. And when I hear people talk about not protecting black women and things of that nature, I need us to understand that when you're having a conversation, you need to be informed. Cardi B, I don't like her as a person in general, just based on the fact that because when you go back into her track record in terms of, again, when we talk about protect black women, we can also say and speak to the fact that she openly admitted to raping and drugging men and using other men as a proxy to rape men because she doesn't necessarily have a phallus, which I have a problem with. In a climate where we're talking about protect black women, which I agree with 100% of the time, and I'm with protecting all levels, whether they're affluent or poor.
More importantly,
because a lot of black affluent women don't want to protect poor black women. But in terms of this conversation, though, in terms of this conversation and talking about one, she's talking about Candace Owens. And mind you, for the record, I don't like either one of these two.
I love both of them.
I don't.
I'll tell you why later on.
Go ahead. They boo-boo to me, but
I don't love it. I love them.
At this, on one hand, you have a person who's playing into liberal leftist politics and appealing to Joe Biden, who is a quote-unquote centrist, but I would say he's further right. No, yeah, center right. I would give you center right because center left is an Elizabeth Warren.
Yes.
Right? And so you are on TV talking to this man as a left-wing person when a person like AOC, who is a part of your demographic, the Latino demographic, because that's what she is. I just looked it up. Bella Cleese. She's not even allowed. She was given a 60-second clip at the DNC because they didn't want to necessarily her to interfere with the messaging. So when Candace, hold on, give me 1 second. Candace Owens has a point when she says that you're being used. Your arrogance and not in lack of understanding of politics doesn't allow you to see that you are in fact being used. Because we're going to get into Candace Owens later and how she's used too. But go ahead.
Holding. Personal foul. You hit my motherfucking ego. So, are you telling me, right? Because here's what happened. I damn near forgot with the joke. You're telling me, there we go, that AOC that's in the party elected, who
calling Pelosi Mama Bear,
who literally represents people. She gets paid by people to represent them. Gets 60 seconds. 60! But you get Cardi who gets a whole interview? But that goes back to Owen's point about how that would be like Trump saying, I'm not doing no interviews. And we have to give Owens her points where she's due. This is why I love Owens and I love Cardi. Because they allow us to have this conversation. I respect anyone, from a person who walks a strong line, I respect anyone who's willing to deal with the consequences of speaking publicly.
You're right. I do.
I gotta give you that respect because
I can take that.
You get hit on the head
because a lot of people like to talk trash behind closed doors but don't want to do it in the open, and that's a larger reason why. Because what I will say that Cardi did speak truth on at one point in time in her career, when she said something about, the reason that she makes the music that she does is because that's what people buy, and what she meant by that, to a larger point, even a political point, that she might have understood, might not. But what I loved about her saying that is that a lot of people talk a good game, but they're not about to do nothing. A lot of people talk about, politicians this, politicians that. You see me say it all of the time. I respect the savage heathens that sit on Capitol Hill.
They're not even savage heathens.
They savage heathens in the sense, I would say they're more civilized, but I use savage heathens because in how the masses interprets our political infrastructure. Because to them, oh my God, I would never. Oh my God. Like, bro, shut up. Y'all enable these politicians.
Bro.
Enable them. Enable markets. Whole markets. Niggas watching sports again.
Well, the Romans, that's not even just a color thing.
Check out our other video on sports and why. And I'll take on should it leave or not. And we here now. Sports is back. Obama inquired like 2 protests. Let's go. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, designer politics. Everybody back daddy. That's what Obama. Since Bill is gone, Barack is everybody black daddy now. Since Bill Cosby is gone,
you gotta say Zaddy.
Nah.
to be
Zaddy. He's everybody's Zaddy.
Not Zaddy. But anyway, get back on Owens. Owens do have her problems, but Owens is more. I love Owens' agency and what she does. I also love Cardi B's agency and what she does. Cardi B reveals, you know what Cardi B is? She's a living live character from Players Club.
I would agree.
She's a living player from Players Club.
And she understands the game. I would say she more on the What was the girl who told Lisa Ray that you got to learn how to play the game or use what you got to get what you want?
But you know what I'm talking about. Cardi is willing to reveal that. Like anybody who's willing to whistleblow, like, okay, then let's go. That's how you get information.
Maybe that's what she went. Maybe that's what she meant.
But Candace always, which means, maybe she is sending signals. Maybe we are underestimating Cardi B and her sophistication. But Candace Owens' sophistication to move into spaces like Ben Shapiro and to speak is that it shows her institutional understanding of how media works.
Mm-hmm.
Candace has the same media sophistication as Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent,
I would agree.
as Hove has, Sean Carter, as she's more sophisticated than Sean Combs because Diddy does a lot of parties and parties on space.
Let me ask you this. I just want to ask you this.
Go ahead.
Is it sophistication or do they just understand the game? And is understanding the game a part of sophistication?
Understanding the game is part of sophistication because the only way to escape a maze is to understand where you're being deceived. Mm-hmm. So Owens moving in the space that she's moving in as a conservative woman who's married to white men. She is going for a whole market share of Black American women who are married to white men, most in education spaces, most in these intersectional spaces. Mm-hmm. Who, even when you got two dope queens, and you got two dope queens, it's like there's a whole space when you get into a certain level of income, I would say the quote unquote Black middle class or aspiring upper middle class, in which you don't see Black American men or ADOS there because the skills of the language isn't there and the comprehension isn't there. So we kind of exclude ourselves, or people exclude themselves from those spaces because they don't necessarily feel welcome. I'm just a weirdo. I go where I want because I'm curious. But I'm getting back to how Owens uses whatever Cardi B or the quote unquote stereotypical ratchet Black American woman or Black woman looks like and makes a segment towards the woman that's supposed to have class. Because if you look at her whole set is about having class. I don't know the name of the plays that she does, but her whole play is about having class. Her whole play is about Black women can be dignified. All you got to do is pull yourself up by the bootstraps. And yes, to a larger extent, she's also being used by quote-unquote white executives. But that's a question that we have to have on a broader scope about how white executives and white male executives, because we still have white male executives when we get into the LGBTQIA community, and you see a lot of the movies and shows like Hollywood that only comes out because there's a Black man who's married to a white man, although there is still a whole lot of racism within the LGBTQIA community against Black gays, Black trans, and Black queers, and Black bisexuals. So racism does not stop because a person decides that they are not the mainstream. So that's what I'm getting into. Candace Owens knows how to read the market for the non-mainstream. Whereas Cardi B, she's a beeline for the mainstream. And that's where you see Owens' sophistication in hitting certain talking points that Cardi B misses out on. Man, that should be in PR.
No, I think what happens is because again, I don't necessarily care for Candace Owens either, man. You know how I feel about when you take it, because again, I respect her G. Exactly. I respect her G because what happens is she's able to capitalize on the hypocrisy and playing both sides, and like you said, getting the person on the technicality. So when she says things like, well, the Democrats were the group that enslaved African Americans and so on, which they are. But that's a technical, and my political side just is like, man, because you got to be sophisticated to be like, wait, understanding that yes, that is the case, but understand that the ideology though,
I got you,
moved in concession with
that. But
right
on that move though that Candace did right there, that technicality. How many times do I say private school kids fight dirty?
They do.
But let me get to this point. How many times do I say, it's a line of reasoning. How many times do I say private school kids fight dirty, right?
They do.
They do. So if we
If
we accept that private school kids fight dirty, and most of the institutions are run by private school kids, why are we expecting them to play fair?
Because again, we gonna get into that later, and that's where I have an issue with the collective, the electorate, in terms of they dumb, bro.
They are.
They dumb. And again,
Chris Hedges shows that they're dumb.
I'm here.
I'm
all about building community and whatnot, but we have to have a serious conversation about the level of naivety that the American people has. Because you talking about private school kids, right? Which I agree with 100%.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing on the political side of, okay, y'all mad at Trump, y'all mad at Candace Owens, y'all will protect Kamala Harris, or y'all will protect the Cardi B who shits on the black community, African American community, the ADOS community.
We ain't got to get into that one.
Because you got Cardi B talking about, one, the hair quality in terms of, 4C of black women and trashing it. And then you got her calling black roaches.
So they protected Cardi B, but they wouldn't respect this from a Karen?
Exactly.
And sometimes Karens be right.
Sometimes they do.
Karens be right. Like, I like Karens. You want to know why I like Karens?
I don't like Karens.
You know why I like Karens? Then I won't use Karens.
I don't like Karens or black
Karens. I like no.
Karens is a type of person.
How about this? Yeah, they are. I like Laurens. I don't care if you all don't know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Lauren. I'm talking about Lauren from OC.
No,
you didn't.
Tell us what Lauren is.
I am. Lauren from OC, like Lauren Conrad. I'm going there. I used to love OC, Orange County. Lauren Conrad was kind of like the blonde haired chick who was kind of boho, but she was really down to earth, centered, and you didn't have to necessarily hate her. There was no reason to hate her other than that she was blonde and white. And Lauren was very reasonable. She would listen, and she would also, I don't give a damn if it's just her character. It's hard to play a reasonable person in a mad world. And yes, call it white privilege, call it white advantage, call it whatever you want to. Life is frustrating for everyone. But Lauren is a person who understands the technicality, but doesn't push the social boundaries to the point where they fall into, I am a victim, and the reason I want to have this thing corrected is because I'm a victim. Lauren is more of a person who's like, I want this corrected because it's wrong. Not necessarily that it's wrong in the sense that, it hurts people's feelings. It's wrong in the sense that it's inefficient, and it does hurt people's feelings. So it's inefficient to call someone retarded when they have a mental challenge. Because why would we not use that word? Because they already have a mental challenge. And because they have a mental and learning challenge, we also need to buttress the emotional part there, because they're not a part of the group, and they know they're not a part of the group. So if you include people by going like, that we know that you got a learning challenge, but socially you get it. Socially you understand other people are assholes. Not everybody understand math. And you know what? I like when you raise your hand in class, because I'm just too afraid to raise my hand in class and say I don't get it. But I'm the dumbass, like, I don't get it. Explain this to me. But that's just me. But that's the difference between a Lauren and a Karen. Like, you need the Lauren. Why you need the Lauren? Because in the market, people are dirty. You need someone that's going to go, like, this business is cruddy. These people give you bad products and everything else.
You a hater if you say that, though. And my point,
be a hater. If you giving up your labor for a product, like, no, I don't like this product. It don't work. It don't last. So you want to tell me you'd rather have snake oil than your money?
No. That's not what I'm saying. I would never, ever. I prefer realism.
Okay.
I prefer realism all day, every day. We talking about
I'm listening to Cardi
conversation.
So we would take a Cardi over a Lauren.
We would take a Cardi over a Lauren just based off color. Because getting into the conversation about passing, let's talk about how
GW.
People, we could talk about GW, we could talk about Cardi B, because Cardi B is also a passer. Cardi B and Kamala Harris also are effective passers. Because what happens is, as well as I, because you move in and around a lot of liberal white people, right? The black people who get into the room don't like to say they African American, but when they come out the room, oh, it's the culture, it's that, and now you want to. I wouldn't even have a problem with the if it were coming from a joke who straight from poverty, who actually lives that lifestyle, who actually suffers through that. I don't mind the twerking if it actually comes, but I have an issue with black affluence. Black affluence, because even I'm gonna go down to the nitty nitty. Let me go, please. The nitty nitty.
You mad it's offensive, right?
Let me go.
I'm
Because even when it's levels to it, right?
I'm listening.
So
you testifying.
So we got the POCs that sit at the top of passing, right? POCs and white ethnics that sit at the top of passing. Because white ethnics pass for white, and white Anglo Americans understand they are not them, right? So on one hand, we have POCs who pass as African American, but let's talk about it from ground up. And let's talk about the quote unquote African American who is raised in an affluent environment, has never interacted with poverty, never interacted with the public school, never interacted with the quote unquote hood or the trap house that everybody want to take pictures at. But they want to walk around and trap. They want to walk around, and I got people in college who want to say, oh, I'm this and I'm that. Bro, I'm trying to get the way y'all got, the big houses in the Hamptons. You got a car, a Benz from your parents at 16. That's not the same life. You trying to pass for me, and I got an issue with that because you have not suffered, you have not starved enough to take on that story. And I have a problem. Let me finish.
I'm waiting.
Because then we get up to them who want to shit on white people for what they do, but they co-opt the story.
I know, I'm listening. You
Then
testifying.
let's go up to the POCs. The POCs, the Ethiopians, the Nigerians, the goddamn, Latinos, everybody who wants to come in and circumvent black culture and blackness.
So like the shade room.
Love the shade room. Love the shade room. You want to know why? Because we so crazy as African Americans to believe that people who sold us into this situation would have our best interest to not further toxic narratives that are used against us by let's guess it. Let's guess it. The same white people who they complain about every single day. Because you got a Kamala Harris who want to sit up here and, oh, Joe Biden, you're a racist during the debates. Oh my God, I was that little girl who was getting bust. Look at my t-shirt. I'm on here getting bust. But you don't want to talk about that you come from a Bollywood or Indian caste system that degrades people who would be African Americans relative to your country, right?
It's loaded.
It's very loaded.
It's loaded.
Which is why, because you wanna do that, and then you also want to be the first black woman, quote unquote, to assume the seat of vice president. But you also, affluent black woman, I'm not going to get into all the affluent black women because I got a long list of them who shit on poor women, who shit on the women that I grew up with, who shit on the women that I love dearly. Because you want to know why? I come from niggerdom. And I know the struggle and the perverseness because people love to talk about all of this toxic stuff and all the mental health. These affluent bitches don't give a fuck about y'all poor women. Not 1 ounce. And I ain't talking about the white ones. I'm talking about the POCs, the people who in the institutions. Because we can get on white people all day. We know what they've done. We know how their collective move. And if you want to get into the white ethnics who want to be white, but aren't really that, the Latino whites, the Irish people who want to juxtapose their plight to ours as African Americans, it's not the same, bruh. But then, on that same note, will tell you you don't deserve anything.
Yeah, so okay, I got you.
And you should just let me call you a cockroach. And while I'm calling you a cockroach, no, I'm not. I'm not respecting you.
Yes, but this is what we have to get and understand as Black Americans and our own culture. See, this is why I get to W. Du Bois's double consciousness. And I'm at the point now, I was like, yeah, that's America. Everyone in America has a double conscience. Everyone in America comes from a diaspora. And if you don't come from a diaspora, you come from a narrative in which the economy in how America was built has a grievance. Everyone has a grievance with America. And that's why when we start talking about Reconstruction, and when you get Reconstruction, and then we also have, we talking about Candace Owens and Cardi B, where we can also introduce Ice Cube into this. We can introduce Diddy into this. When we start when we start using affluence as a way to speak to white audiences, this is when you have to listen to Owens' audience, in which they talk about the Obamas buying a mansion in Martha's Vineyard. You have to listen to that audience, or the white ethnics, or the POCs, because when you get into white culture, you have WASP. Everyone knows, it's like everyone's got a WASP. White Anglo-Saxon Protestant, who were some of the first families in America to benefit from the American economic system, because they had charters basically from these kingdoms in Europe. Because Europe, what America really started off as, is a trading company for Europe.
Yeah, that's why I always call it his little brother, and it's still his little brother, or sister company.
Their sister company, but the way Merkel and them moving right now, Merkel, Boris, and the rest of them, I think Europe is trying to really say fuck America at this point in time.
That could be argued. I think
they're breaking away.
I think everybody right now is trying to make a move for themselves. And it's going to be disastrous, because America never really gained that foundation, and America being that anchor economically as the biggest booming business that Britain ever had, the UK ever had. It's like, this junk about to collapse, bro. Because again, everybody loving it right now, and we having this conversation about Cardi and Candace, and we want to have it in this way, because I still don't want people to ever get it twisted that, Slim, we still in a pandemic. We still in imminent economic collapse. We still in imminent eviction crisis. So while we having this conversation, understand that we bringing all of that into why we're saying what we're saying.
But that's what's important, because I tie everything together. That's what Owens is important, because at least Owens is being in her. I believe she's a provocateur. I really do believe that.
She is.
I believe
she know what she be saying.
Like, she's a clever provocateur.
That's why
I love it. I love it. She's like Peter O'Toole to me inside of the ruling class. I'm pretty sure that goes over most people, but she's like the 14th Earl of Gurney. She's hilarious. I love it. But we also have to get in when we talk about the narratives. If you're allowing Cardi B to speak for the poor black women and the poor women, because we have to go from Reconstruction to reconciliation. Because when we talk about Reconstruction, it usually is tied to slavery. And it's like there's a twofold to slavery. Slavery itself, I want to specify on this one, the transatlantic slave trade. The transatlantic slave trade that began with the Portuguese of Henry the Navigator, that circumvented the Saharan trade that was done by the Berbers amongst Northern Africa. That's why Northern Africans are considered white, whereas Sub-Saharan Africans are considered black. Not everyone who is African is black.
People think that.
Some people who are African are, along the census, are white.
Oh, trust me, I know.
But you got to clarify for the audience.
I got you.
So that's where the color line, though, because we also have to talk about colorism. And we really don't talk about colorism.
No.
When we talk about colorism, here's where you have to give Candace Owens her credit. She's at least following a narrative that's coherent and that is in line with who she is. The DNC, and this is, you already know, this
very incoherent.
This is where I get problem with the DNC. Cardi B is incoherent. The DNC is incoherent. It plays like we're going to gather together as the others and beat out the GOP. It's like, no, because that makes the GOP your leader. and you get upset because the GOP decides to lead economically in different sectors. Like a lot of people get mad at Harvard. Most people come from Stanford when we start talking about business. It's like when we talk about business and Ivy Leagues, what it takes to get into an Ivy League school, because Harvard has I think at least 7 professors who were dropouts. When we start talking about American psychology, it's literally a place where it's a land of opportunity if you can take advantage of the opportunities. It's like everything in America has that underlying thing. Like you have to know the implications, the denotations, the connotations, and Cardi B does not know those things. And so that's why or if she does know them, she doesn't put them out on camera because I don't want to say what her capacity is. That's why it has to be important in our day-to-days because we talk about public figures and public personas. In our day-to-day, we need the Candace Owens inside the office because Candace Owens has a feeling out about protecting Black men. So we have to have
really?
that.
What's the name of it?
I haven't saved it on my YouTube for research. I haven't watched it just yet because it's not just Candace Owens, but Candace Owens has her own team. She's bringing a whole team of people. And this is where it's like, don't underestimate her hustle. Never underestimate her hustle.
You can't because it's all the same hustle. People on the blue side try to, fake and act like they much better than the Candace Owens. But the same shit Candace Owens doing is the same shit Kamala Harris is doing. Like, stop it. I get so sick and tired of, and again, this is why matter of fact, quick shout out to Jennifer Blimmer, DC Young Dems president. It's her birthday. Happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Definitely.
I want to send her a cupcake from Bacon Wired. I like cupcakes.
Yeah, cupcakes are delicious, but they like pops. They like little.
No. Have you ever seen the cupcake from Bacon Wired?
Mm.
You know, on the inside,
put it up on your phone.
I never like a white chick. They the size of the cupcakes are the size of this.
Yeah, put it up on your phone so I can see it, then we can move on.
I got you.
But in that, when we talk about like Candace Owens, right, and we talk about like the Kamalas and everybody who plays this game of duplicity, I hate that. Why can people peep it when it's Candace Owens or when it's a quote unquote person in the GOP, but why can they not peep it when it's somebody quote unquote in the DNC or has all these liberal leaning? Because like you said, we could bring dudes into it, man. Let's bring dudes into it.
Yes.
Because I'm sick of they trash too. They just everybody doing the same thing. Because like you said, Ice Cube out here talking about lordship and shit. What are you talking about, fam?
Scotland.
That's crazy.
In Scotland. It's a certificate.
And Scotland literally came out and said that's not right.
We know that's any person, and this is where you have to be sophisticated as a consumer, bro.
Akon.
We gonna get
what
there.
did Akon do?
Hold on, we gonna get there. Sophisticated as a consumer. You need to understand when somebody is calling you. This man had a certificate. Like he just went to a motherfucking high school. It's saying, bruh, I got this young for the 100 for some land and style. To be a lord. Do you know what a lord is?
No, they don't.
Do you know what a lord is?
Nobody don't know what a lord is.
What? And y'all fake against feudalism? Get out of here. But you want to be a lord? No, I'm sick of it, bro. He want to be a lord, but he against feudalism. He against Trump. How you against Trump and fascism, but you want to be a lord?
You know
how?
I told you.
How?
I told you.
I'm sick of it.
We're going to use July.
I'm sick of it. And they want to keep, because this is where I feel like Candace Owens. Why are y'all stepping in politics? Be entertainers. I'm not against entertainers, but damn. You don't know what you a lord, bro? I couldn't get over it when I heard it. I wanted to delete the goddamn Friday clip from my iTunes because it was just that ignorance.
I want to know about Akon.
Oh God, bro.
Tell me about Akon.
Go ahead,
bro. This dude Akon is talking about building some kind of Wakanda.
Oh, I heard. I know. I saw that. He got pregnant.
And then he made comments about like how we should just get over it. Huh?
I'm listening.
He was saying like comments about how like African Americans and you need to get over slavery. Like that's just something we just need to look past.
So, am I right when I keep saying the color line blinds?
Yeah.
The color line blinds is like everything ain't every. We gotta get past that rule. Martin Luther King. We need a new Martin Luther King. We need a Malcolm X. It's like no, y'all want the ones that were revolutionary when they were young. Y'all don't want when they get older and they understood the poor people's march. Y'all don't want the Malcolm X that came back from Hodge and talked about how it was just about he's willing to work with white people who understand the plight, but Black America needs to build itself first. We don't want to talk about that because a lot of Black people get paid off selling Blackness,
Party
and Black
pimps.
liberation, and selling hope. And then they tell you, the white people who tell you that classism is an issue in America, that those white people are wrong. It's like, no, they aren't. They aren't. Because the reason that you had a lot of poor white people in the South is because labor was being exploited because of us. So you had white people that were becoming the white ethnics, the Scottish, the Scot-Irish, and everything else coming to the South. They were coming to the South, the Irish more so because when we talk about Irish and the white ethnics and Irish, we really need to talk about white history and how the British was like, yeah.
We can do it.
Or the English. No, the English was like, hey, we're English, you're Irish, my name is Cromwell, fuck your people. We can do a whole we gotta do that. But my whole point is that Akon talking about forget something. It was like Akon. That's like saying Sub-Saharan Africa should forget the Berlin Conference of 1885 or whatever that is. The Berlin Conference. I get in trouble all the time with my Nigerian friends by calling Nigeria because they get mad and like, look, you gotta understand, Nigeria was created by the British, not by the people who live on this land. Because there's over 400 languages and different identities. And that's where, as Black Americans, I become the ally and I listen to our post-1960 brethren. And Burna Boy is playing in my head right now, but he got his own issues. But in his most recent album, Twice as Tall, he talks about how, and going back to Akon, he talks about how in an African school, he's been taught white history. And then in Black America, we had this go back to the continent. It's like if you go back to the continent, you still going to be dealing with Anglo-American capitalism. Because if not the French.
Because people don't understand that, I always say that it was the three brothers. The three brothers went on conquest when we talk about the Spanish, the English, and the French.
You got
we talk about
the Portuguese that started the shit. It's the
Portuguese. Always put them in the French for some reason.
No, the Portuguese and Spanish. Portuguese and Spanish, they're closer together in the wars that they fought than the French. Because when you think about the Spanish, Portugal, Spain.
Okay.
When you think about the French, Germans.
Okay.
And the England is kind of the weird little bastard.
I'll look into that because that's probably
I'll show it to you, bro.
The way that I compartmentalize them, but I put them into the three brothers in terms of people always trying to run and not understanding that the conquest was very broad. I always say that, and not even to the full extent, probably China and other like Asian dynasties are probably the only people who have created a buffer in between that conquest. Because that's why I say not to the full extent.
I would agree. Like India, China, Mongolia,
yeah,
I would agree. Japan.
They have that, which is again why, because that's the whole reason. Like my son's name is Khan. Like full disclosure, like that story, their institutions as nations, I like it. It is very willing to be agreeable, but when it understands that it's not a thing, we can't do business because I understand what you want. And so, with that being said, when we talk about African Americans, ADOS in America, and wanting to flee and go back to Africa, they don't understand that Africa has been ravaged. And a lot of them, I've had conversations with people, and they don't understand that Africans, yes, like you said, can be white. People think that that is a foreign. It's like, no, your whiteness being, first off, being African is not a thing. That's only a thing to us as African Americans, people. That's only a thing to us. There's no such thing as being a African.
There's like 54 different nations.
When you're talking to people,
thousands of languages.
When you're talking to people and you call them an African, and this is coming from a person who has worked under Ethiopians, has worked under Nigerians, has worked under and with, in some cases, people from Senegalese and continental Africans in that way. They automatically understand your level of ignorance.
Yes.
Because again, this is this
you don't get
a person who, and I take offense. So anybody who's watching this, most people I tell that I taken offense when they want to indoctrinate me into their quote unquote continental Africanness or whatever tribe they're from on the continent, in terms of you're an exceptional nigger. The same way white people do that. The same way white people say, well, you're the exceptional one. You're not that.
Tokenism.
You're the Obama. Africans,
tokenism.
Continental Africans and brown people do the same thing to African Americans in the ADOS community, which is problematic. You all are operating as white people. And the reason that you have to stop doing that is because what I tell most people when I had an interaction is like, look, I'm no better really than my brother. I just know how to communication skills, language skills, and I learned the language skills off of survival. The language skills did not come through boarding school, private school. I learned the communication skills because whether it was be putting down in our family, whether it was be putting down in the community and having to navigate both sides at all times, I just had to develop the language skills because I couldn't be trashed to any one party. So I know how to speak both. That's the only reason I do. Because, you know, I come from a mother who would slap me.
Because.
Pronunciation.
Because.
And use the word specific to the meaning that you're talking about. Which is why I'm very specific with words. I use a and the and all that. And she's a paralegal. That probably is a paralegal.
Because a and the tells me so much. It's like
it
these are articles. These articles tell me how much you are. But anyway, you know I'm gonna hurt.
No, and going into that, I think people miss, and this is where I talk about the mechanics more than the individual personalities, is that you can have good intent. Because I try to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't believe that the people who said it to me, or the person who said it to me in this case, had malintent. I think they just appreciated what I was capable of, but as I expressed to them, don't say that to me because you have to understand, and this is how I try to be a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to understand what was done to my community, and I need you to understand where my community is at. And if you want to be of any assistance to me in my goals in life, I need you to listen to me and not necessarily bring me into this pedestal tokenness mindset. I am not the exceptional nigga. I'm just a nigga who survived.
And then that's why I become Baldwin. I am not a nigga. I am natural Negro. And what I mean by that is, I get exactly what you're saying. It's saying basically, again, white people are not the only people who commit microaggressions. There needs to be a dear black people, because I've had professors who thought I was West Indian because of the way I talk and how my behaviors and To say that you Black American and you're from Southeast with this voice and this body, people look at you like you're lost.
They don't believe it. People tell me about my background all of the time.
Where's your accent?
Like, nigga, what are you talking
You're
about?
not from Ward 8. You haven't seen helicopter lights in your window. You haven't seen bodies on the floor. You haven't seen cars on fire. So for a long time, it creates this, again, double consciousness. But then I begin to accept that the other America is poverty. Going into Trump, because I'm transitioning into Trump and passing. We just had a thing where Bollywood just had an incident where they had a line where they had to apologize to Beyonce because they were talking about colorism. And we have to include colorism into the conversation of racism in passing. Because going to GW, people, Rachel Dolezal, I don't like Rachel Dolezal. I love her. Why? Because Rachel Dolezal brings in the conversation in America that we have been having for a long period of time about passing. Kate Chopin talks about passing in Desiree's Baby, where before we had the science, if you kind of looked like you had Black parents, you was a mulatto. So that means being a mulatto, worse than the Nuremberg laws, being a mulatto, you just wasn't allowed for certain things. We have in the U.S. Census Ocdrum, mulatto, saying the different degrees of blackness into which you are. And the closer to the tar baby and everything else, the Sambo art. And when we get into it, is that cloaks poverty in America. Because in America, poverty is the rule, not the exception. So what happens is that you have a Joe Rogan who, I don't have no beef with Joe Rogan. I don't have no beef with Cardi B. I don't have no beef because I agree with Montesquieu. If you want to build your place upon a Roman ideal, of which a republic is, buyer beware of your ideas. But my whole point is that when you talk about passing, we have to talk about how passing and colorism work. Someone can be dark and not represent underrepresented populations, and someone can be fair but represent populations that are underrepresented. It's about the message and the effort people are putting in. And when we come to the Red Sea or Trump, we can see with Trump, I love my guy. He's hilarious. He shows the cult of personality in America, in which a personality wins. I believe it was Frontline who did a series on his Kirshner and how Kirshner, Jared Kushner owned this company that was literally penalizing these poor white people, penalizing them on being late for their rent, but it was still supporting the Trump administration. So it's not just a cognitive dissonance in the POC or the Black community. It's just, there's this thing in America where personality wins.
Yeah, that is America.
And if you got the personality, don't nobody give a damn about the facts.
That is America.
Like, deliver me the personality. And that's where Trump shows that affluence and poverty are in conflict with each other, and this color line plays into it with the passing. And that's when, and this encapsulates your point that you always come into, and I want to end here, is with the professor at GW. The professor at GW was able basically to pass off the ignorance of not just Black Americans and Black people, but also white Americans and white people. And that's where passing really works. Passing is, I say I dwell in the uncanny valley. Passing comes from the arrogance of both sides. And that's where here with Tone and that and everyone's talking about is that it's also able to do with Black immigrants, is that I have the intellectual capacity to take advantage of these opportunities. So I'm going to take advantage of the ignorance of both groups, the hatred in both groups, and I'm going to use it. And I'm going to use it to my advantage because no one calls me out because I'm fair. And that's where colorism comes in. But it also comes in when you talk about someone who's dark, but is able to take on that token thing. But that's what Jordan Peterson work becomes interesting, because that's what the Sunday Place is about. That's what This Is Us is about. This is us, or is it them? Whatever it is. Us. Yeah, us is about. It's about that uncanny valley about how you can have one mindset and operate as another in America. And that's what we really need to have conversations about.
And that's where you always hear me go against.
Damn, I was on a diatribe, but I'm listening.
To people who want to understand and then do another thing. Because what it does is it allows you to, like you said, exploit the ignorance of people who don't quite understand and take advantage of people who really are taking you as a genuine person.
Exactly.
Right? And so the whole cult thing is like, look, man, even, and I'll say this, even as going to your statement about activity and effort, you have black ADOS people, African American people who pass. And what do I mean? They get a pass in being allowed to extract from the collective without reciprocation. Because that's what this all comes down to. Because I sit here, we having this conversation. Some people could consider me a passer if I don't necessarily exude and move in a direction of what I say I am. Because that's what it comes down to. Who do you say you are? What do you say you are? And how do you move? But the problem is, like you said, America is built on personality. And going into Trump, because we wanted to have a conversation about, you know, the whole fanfare. I'm sick of it, man. I'm sick of it. Christ. The fanfare of Donald Trump, and every time he does something, it just turns into like a whole crazy news cycle. And I'm talking about the whole thing that we had go on with him, and I forget the person's name who did the book. Woodard, I believe. Woodard, I believe.
I believe he did.
And he told him that he understood what COVID, the severity of it, and all of those things. And now everybody's up in arms. And you know me, I hate the whole existential crisis thing, because to your point about white liberals is, I want to make it clear. You all are being introduced into the existential crisis that African Americans and those people have been in since the inception of this country, because Donald Trump is not smarter than our founding fathers. He's not better than any sitting president that has come before him. He's not better than Ronald Reagan. He's not better than Bush. He's not better than LBJ. He's not better than Nixon. He's not better than none of them. None of them. But I have to continue to have conversations about how he's so wickedly ignorant, but at the same time, wickedly innovative. Is he innovative? Is Donald Trump innovative? Did he invent hiding information? Did he invent it? That's a rhetorical question. Because we know he didn't invent it. Niggas been hiding shit since the dawn of day.
That is so true.
Everything is built. All institutions
hide shit. That's funny.
But go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, that was funny.
All this shit is built on omission. I'm sick of it. I gotta have conversations online with people who want to come and talk to me about omission. Oh my God, he omitted something. Oh my God. Okay, I'm not saying it's right, but let's get this. I disagree with it. I actually disagree with it to a certain extent.
I'll get you what I would say is right.
To a certain extent, right? But I don't want to have a conversation with a person who's trying to tell me that omission in the political industry is an anomaly.
That's funny.
Because what I am here to say is that it's built on omission. It's built on not telling you motherfuckers everything. Because nobody expects people to be able to handle the truth. No. Let me talk. Because you know how I feel about this. I want to, you know what my Disney is? You know what my fantasy is? Is that all of the people who got those security clearance cards, who can and touch on any building in DC and get in, or that you can only be in a room with 4 to 5 people and get access to information. Let's talk about how the CIA, the DOJ, and FBI is built on information, on access to information that other people don't have.
The information and loyalty.
Security clearances is all built on that. You know what my dream is? You know what? Disney movie. If you listen to Disney, this is what you need to do a movie about. You know how The Giver, everybody just awoken at one time. Let's reappropriate them, and let's just tap all security clearances. Just let everybody know the information that everybody has to deal with. The presidents, the senators, the House representatives, Nancy Pelosi, the Barack Obamas, and what is his name? George Bush's of the world. I want all of the information that they have access to. The traumas, the shootings, for the reasons of why they had to sign off on the paperwork. I want everybody to be able to know it. And I want to see them commit suicide in the sense that I want you all to wrestle with what these people have to wrestle with. Because let's not talk about, again, it's Donald Trump. He's an asshole. He's a fucked up person. But let's not act like we don't keep shit from y'all. Let's not act like Julian Assange. Let's not act like Julian Assange from WikiLeaks. Nothing illegal. Is on trial right now in America for sharing information that people didn't have access to. Let's not act like, hold on. Fuck this. We got Fort Detrick, the Enron Contra scandal. And Fort Detrick was basically MK Ultra, which everybody thought was a conspiracy theory. The Tuskegee experiment, which everybody thought was a conspiracy theory. Until you get a whistleblower. Oh, matter of fact, hold on. We don't even gotta go back that far. Edward Snowden. Oh my God. He had information that was omitted. And he's running for his life now. Thanks to Obama team. Thank you. But you want me to be mad at Donald Trump for omitting some shit. Hold on. Quentin, Daquan, do non-disclosures agreements not exist as a common part of, what do you call that? Business?
Capitalism.
Hold on. And I'm stupid. I'm just a stupid nigga in the room. What is a non-disclosure agreement, please? Somebody tell me. I don't know what it is.
A non-disclosure agreement. I'm not a lawyer for the camera. I am not a lawyer.
None of us are, but we all know
the
what
best understanding that I can summon, a non-disclosure agreement is basically an agreement between two parties that says that whatever transpires between the two, you cannot disclose. Actually, I have an NDA. My NDA is that with, I had mine with the government because when you swear, you can't do everything. But with my NDA is with a nonprofit in DC, and whatever material that I have with them, I can't disclose to other people. And that's when you get into the contractualism of America. That's when you get to how America is built upon laws. And that's when you have to understand when people start talking about Trump, and this is where the DNC's duplicity gets to me, is that we act like that the head of the agency dictates how everything happens. It's like it's not possible. And you know what I don't like about conspiracy theorists? They act like government is a unified body. It's like, no, if you actually look at government, bro, agencies be charging other agencies for paper and information. Agencies like, nah, I need that to come out your budget. Because everyone fights for budget. Everyone fights for budget. Everybody fights for budget, from education to defense, even within defense. Navy, Marines, everyone fights for different budgets. Everyone fights for budgets. Everyone fights for their own projects. But going what you were saying about Donald Trump and omission, the security clearances exist for that very reason, that everyone cannot handle the psychological onslaught, the psychological load of a community, because you have to get rid of this idea of Camelot. You got to get rid of this idea of a perfect Africa. You have to get rid of this idea that if we write the best, and this is what really makes me center leaning right. It's like you gotta get rid of this idea that if we just write the best policies and we tax the billionaires out of existence and we make everything right, that people will behave. We can have this idea that if you get rid of all the racists and we use anti-racism and we get rid of all the sexism, that people won't find a new way and a new wild to exploit. And my favorite example of this is Dr. Seuss, who was highly racist and an asshole, but Dr. who cheated on his cancer-ridden wife. But Dr. Seuss with the Sneetches.
That's my shit.
Like, I got a star on my belly, so I'm more important than you. And so someone goes out and goes, you got a star. If I want to be important, I got to get a star on my belly. And they go out and go get a star in their belly. And because I had the star on my belly, like, oh, you think you me. So you know what's important now? No stars on bellies. I have no star on my belly, so I'm more important to you. So it oversimplifies, but it very well articulates how discrimination can arise out of any arbitrary thing. So we can't write into policy, and Denzel Washington talks about this in the interview, we can't write into policy in a way in which you treat me fairly. It has to be within you respecting how I came to the table, why I'm at the table, and why I'm arguing with you as not a victim, but as a survivor. My ancestors have survived, and therefore the legacy I bring to you, the concerns I bring to you, are those of a survivor who has been a victim, and because as a victim of a trauma, no longer seeks to be a victim of the trauma, so they can move forward with their life. And that, to me, is what Black America's great dream is to move on from the trauma of the transatlantic slave trade to be able to afford basically a decent life.
Yeah, and that's why, you know me, I have conservative views, but until I feel like African Americans get reparations, I don't think there's really too much to conserve in that way. But in keeping it on Trump and the omission process and things of that nature, and people getting into the whole frenzy and keeping it on passing, because now we are passing the bump in America. Everybody want to blame Trump. Everybody want to blame Trump, man.
Ridiculous.
Look, I think Trump is disgusting, but Trump ain't to blame. The nigga ain't that smart, bruh. He ain't that sophisticated, bruh. Hear me. I know y'all saying, oh, he's a Trump supporter. He's a Trump supporter. I'm not a Trump supporter. But what I will tell you is that, look, he is reading from an old playbook. And he has the playbook down. Point number one. Everybody's, Trump is ignorant when it comes to, he done told those white women and said that he not going to allow these poor people in their community. Do I think Trump believes that? It's debatable. I don't know.
I don't think
He may not. But what I do know is that he knows that, like you were saying earlier with that Candace Owens audience, he understands that this is the norm. This is America's playbook. I gotta feed the suburbanite women. He saw them exit polls. 60%. He know how they vote. And to get into the passing the buck, Joe Biden know how they vote. Because I've been seeing a lot of little dingling jiggling to the same conservative white voters when we had the DNC up there. Man, who was their speakers? Oh my God.
I don't know.
No, don't even get into it. Don't think about it. Just know that they were catering to the same audience and the same people that Donald Trump was. Similar talking points, different angle. They do it. Tax cuts. Trump is like, no, I'm just not going. Look, I know y'all scared. I know y'all don't like these niggas. I know Black Lives Matter. It's like rubbing y'all the wrong way. Let me whisper this in your ear. Hey, ASMR. We not gonna let them get you. Our crown white jewels. We gonna limit till these niggas if they ever think about doing it. And people want to blame Trump for that. When that has been, but George Bush get to Michelle Obama get to be friends with like George Bush and Reagan and is celebrated in DC, like they get strolling down Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yeah.
Newt Gingrich is not a bad guy anymore. Like,
Yes.
what? It's all Trump's fault.
No.
And I think what happens when we make it all Trump's fault,
Mm-hmm.
we don't get anywhere, people. We don't get anywhere. It's cool to say I'm okay with acknowledging Trump is trash. But lying to you, we all like certain things about trash people. We don't absolve them from being trash. Sometimes trash people do good things and great things.
The way my mind is set up, I'll talk to it after camera.
Because we know Future's trash, but niggas love Future.
People don't give a flying fuck. This is and I say this all the time. Socrates was made to drink hemlock. Diogenes was given gifts. Socrates, what was his whole thing? It was about enlightening people.
And you know you're not supposed to do that.
You're not supposed to do that. Diogenes, what was his whole thing? About critiquing people. Diogenes lived the same way Socrates lived. Socrates was seen as a dirty man. Diogenes was seen as a man who lived a humble life because he decided to speak the truth. When in the Western imagination, you have a president, because this is what I don't think people understand. And this is where I begin to lean right, is that the office of the president is basically the office of a restricted king.
It is.
When you look at our legal system.
That's the whole checks and balances concept.
So if you want to say I'm an American, but you want to go out, you want to buy certain things, well, and have a certain lifestyle, as an average American, that king was going to have to move those chains in certain ways. So if I got to move those things in certain ways, as Trump do, it's like, okay, my hands are tied here as in the judicial branch, so I'm just going to let these evangelical or these super right Christian judges of abortion, then that's how I free my arm here, because now I got the judicial branch, because I appointed some people, although there are some people who have been appointed by Trump that's going against him, especially when it came to the voter suppression. But then on the other side, you had the legislative. And people were talking about the left is like defund the police department. Okay, so what I want to do there? Attorney generals and all that other stuff. That's not on the judicial, but on the other side, on the legislative, I'm just going to help my buddies come along who I need to help come along. So I free myself there. That's like what I'm getting to is that if you don't participate as a citizen and understand that citizens in America is supposed to be above any other title, like in America, you're supposed to be a citizen. You want to be a citizen more than you want to be a president. Because technically, the president is the one that is enslaved by the rest of us. Technically, the president in America...
That's how it's supposed to be.
And that's how it's supposed to be. Technically, in America, the president is our bitch. The president has begged everyone else to make
Elected
a decision.
officials in general.
And yeah, they are the ones. But you know me, Alessi de Tocqueville, and how I say, beloved soft despot. Soft despotism comes about in America because people don't take on the civic responsibility. Because civic responsibility is tiring. Talking to your neighbor, talking to your kids, talking to the teachers, talking to the police officers, talking to the firefighters. The only way to understand the community is literally to talk to a community.
Yep.
So if we can't have block parties, if we can't have PCA meetings where people are expected to come out and talk to each other, I don't see policy moving in a way that's meaningful because the behaviors and the socialization isn't to a space where we could be in a conversation. Like, I understand why Trump makes sense to some Americans economically. However,
Socially, I do too.
socially, yeah, but I'm talking about geopolitically. Geopolitically speaking, Trump is like Woodrow Wilson. He get laughed out. Like the long term, because China is playing a long term game. Long term, Trump, and this is why you're seeing a lot of people from the GOP party back Biden, because they say the American narrative is like
The American narrative is more important.
the American narrative is more important. It's like he fucking up us internationally. So it's like,
you know, that's why.
yeah,
Like,
it's like
fuck up the American narrative. Because I'm sick of the American narrative. It's a lie. Y'all don't like us. African Americans say those. And that's part of the American narrative is diversity. And it ain't diverse. It ain't diverse. That's part of why look, I don't care who win. I know the narrative is gonna be jacked up either way. Because Biden is not offering anything that is gonna get us out of the radical situation that we're in right now. Because again,
contextualize
radical in the sense that again we're imminent in terms of economic collapse, eviction crisis.
So domestic policy.
We're in the middle of a pandemic, and again, I love Biden too. You wanna know why I love Biden, man? He's so disrespectful to say, you know, politicians, they'll lie to your ass and tell you they're gonna do something just to get your vote. He like, I ain't even gonna tell you niggas I'm gonna do Medicaid for all. Hell with y'all. He ain't even trying to lie to get the vote. And I love it 100% because even still,
The NRA
got relaxed.
Oh my God.
Even still,
I'm laughing.
he gets a pass.
Who?
Biden. And the reason that I bring that up is because it's passing the buck. You got Trump and Biden just going back and forth, talk about who don't do this and who do this, and it's like, but y'all both do the same shit. Biden get up on TV talking about, oh yeah, I want a fact tracker at the debates. If media wasn't sold out, if media didn't sell out and was co-opted, you will also be called in for lies. I've seen you, nigga, you still won't speak on Anita Hill. You still lie about the crime bill. You lied the other day about NAFTA. Bro, you be lying too. I would just more so appreciate it to be like, my lies are better than Trump's. Do it that way. But I get it. The people's stupid. And they need somebody who's gonna, guess what?
Don't to a certain
Hold on,
point.
they gotta hear it whispered. They don't like things being yelled at them. You know, you gotta say it to them a certain way. We on omits. Omission.
Austin. I'll choose this way. To a certain degree, omission is relevant. It's not relevant to you. What I love about John Houseman is like, I am a staunch, and I know this to be true, American. And it's because in America rewards rebellion. It does. It rewards rebellion. You can become a maverick. You can become anything with the American narrative. Because it allows for a person to be an individual, to cultivate a group, right? So when we talk about Trump, when we talk about the DNC, and we talk about being honest and omission, like Jack Nicholson said in A Few Good Men, you can't handle the truth. And we don't have a culture in which people who are honest and sincere and mature, because that's the difference when we're bringing it full circle with Candace Owens and Cardi B. Cardi B does not have a mature conversation. The DNC does not have a mature conversation about how it delivers these policies or these social policies that they want to deliver. They do the performative of the politics and the performative of the social justice, but they don't deliver, and then they deflect all of the business things that they do onto the GOP. And that's where Trump becomes the great savior of the DNC. Anything that we don't like, we can just say Trump. And the GOP, I would say, in arrogance and hubris, because they do feel the corporations that keep the lights on in America. They don't care and consider the people they don't see in their social circles. And what I mean by that is that when we say conservative, we know that they live in rural areas, whereas liberals tend to live in cities. And so when we talk about the economic engine in America, and when we talk about Black Americans, we're also talking about inner city, Cardi B, versus the rural area, Candace Owens. Inner city, Joe Biden. Rural area, Trump. Although Trump is from the city. Bush also comes from an affluent family, but Bush played into, I think Bush was raised in Connecticut, but he always talks about Texas. We have to talk about that cult of personality in America. It's just like, it's not just Black Americans or adults that feeds into personality. Americans feed into personality. And when we see how Americans feed into personality, it comes down to, for me as a realist and just in life and my worldview, what do you value in your taste? We don't have conversations about taste. Although we talk about, well, that's trash. It's like, well, then what's your taste? Do you have an actual pilot?
No, they follow trends. And it's policy. And
do you have an actual style?
Understand this is like it's policy over people. A policy, in your words, over personality.
I'll just end with this. If you don't have a style, how can you be an environmentalist? Because we all know that fashion is leading that conversation about how to consume. If you don't have style, and anyone who does fashion knows that style is about personality, knows about, okay, this is on trend, but that piece right there, I'ma ice it because people gonna comment on it because it's not on trend. But I'ma ice this piece right here.
And it's gonna last.
I'm gonna ice it because
it's sustainable.
About 2 or 3 seasons later, I'm just gonna pop it out.
And not even so. Like for today, I don't know. Bringing up fashion is like, I understand everything you're saying in terms of the conversation about, again, people critiquing politicians, but where do you stand? And that's the conversation that you're having, because me. People, I got on a pair of I don't even know how to say the nigga name, Helmet Lane jeans, right? Got them on sale. I fuck with them because, one, like you said, it fit my style. They naturally are like DC in that they have huge cuffs. So I appreciate the cuffs, and it allows me to do a lot of different things with whether they be dress shoes, because most dress shoes are like low top, loafers and stuff like that, or whether it be sneakers,
boots,
And so, to that conversation, a lot of people critique but don't have a stance. A lot of people, again, talk about politicians but want to be fake civil and say it is what it is, which is why I have a great disdain for people who do the whole "it is what it is" thing. It's not "it is what it is."
So nice.
It's pick one. If you don't agree with, because no, this is what they do. They'll say, well, all this is bad and all this is ugly and it's gross and it's corruption and
it's the innocence in which you said pick one. It's like a little kid that's getting mad at you. It's like everyone else wants something to eat. Pick what the fuck you want.
Pick. Because again, on one hand, you want to tell me you don't like this, but then when it's beneficial to you, it is what it is. Or on one hand, you got a woman who want to say to me, oh, protect me, protect Black women. But then when I tell you to move in a certain way, you don't tell me what to do. Who you think you are? Okay, protect your damn self. I don't feel bad about that. Because again, I don't have anything against you. Woman, do you. But at the same time, understanding when you asking for somebody to take and bear the responsibility of protecting, I need you to listen. I need you to hear me when I'm trying to move you in a certain direction, because the reason you ask for protection is because you're asking for guidance. You're asking for a person with a higher vantage point or a different vantage point to come in and risk their life, essentially. Because you're risking your life, essentially, when you say protect. Protect. We, again, everybody will sit up here and say that, oh, we live in a hostile environment. We live in an oppressive environment, which we do in a lot of cases. But if you are asking somebody to protect you from that oppression, I'm risking my life.
Okay. Now let's bring in Coleman Hughes. I know a lot of people. Shout out to the person that introduced me. I'm gonna keep your name private, but shout out to the person that introduced me. They call me.
Would they want to?
No, they want to remain private.
Okay.
This is a private person. But Coleman Hughes has this discussion about Lil Wayne and how Lil Wayne talks about with BLM, Black Lives Matter, how we don't go into specific cases, but Coleman Hughes thing was talking about it, how there was a problem with the criminality of Lil Wayne, but not necessarily him not being having a problem with not endorsing Black Lives Matter affirmatively. My thing comes in with that with the protect thing. If you saying that protecting is risking life, what level of agency comes into that when someone who isn't a Black American man who's being charged with this protect Black American women or Black women, who's being charged with this and has been since the Monahan report and has been since forever. When a police officer says, well, I feel the same way. And we know that blue does not necessarily mean any kind of color because we have police officers in our family. We grew up with the blue.
Uh-huh.
So that's why I kind of know, okay, they're people. But if a police officer is saying the exact same thing, I need for them to understand protect. I'm out here protecting. And because I'm out here protecting, I need certain behavioral patterns not to be a part of my day. It makes me nervous when someone is coming up against me aggressively or saying fuck 12 and everything else. And they posturing because they're in a large group. And it's just me and somebody else on patrol. They don't understand it takes backup time to get here. And since then, I got to process that fear. So where's the line on that protection around or how? I'll table it there. I'll land here. Where is the respect and the mutual respect for the person that's asking for the guidance versus the person who is risking uncertainty to guide the other person?
Contract consistency. And what I mean by that is, I understand when women in some cases say, I'm going to disrespect this nigga because he's not worthy, right? Because over time he's shown me who he is. He's shown me that he doesn't have the characteristics not only to lead, but he also puts me in dangerous positions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you have an institution like the police, what has happened is that you have a breach of contract. And again, it's not all, but this is the problem with narratives because again, it's not all with Black men as well. But we unfortunately get casted into the pits of heterosexual Black men. Heterosexual Black men are considered trash. If you want to be considered good, go over to LGBTQIA+. And that's just how it is. And that's no slight against them. But right now in the world, as a heterosexual Black male, cis, quote unquote, there is no love over here for us. And so what happens is when you have those collective narratives, you have some police who are out here protecting. Like you said, we grew up with it. I don't necessarily think that most of our family members have any ill will. They more crazy niggas than anything. Than out here trying to police people in a way that is oppressive, right? But like I have expressed to my mother, who also works in, again, government agency, we've had this conversation. When you get down to narratives and collective narratives, I can't protect you as my mother if people turn and flip, given the mindset that they're in, given the again, everything that is the environment in terms of people being educated only to a middle school, 8th grade level to sustain the environment that we're in. I can't really protect you when if they see just DOJ. Same thing for cops. I get it, but we both know we couldn't protect all of our family members that are cops, even if they did have the right intent. Because again, we know the savage side of humanity and how that thing flips
Mm-hmm.
in terms of look, I understood, but again, which is why we have these conversations now, is like, look, you have to take a stance. If you might be the person, and we know, and let's take it away from institutions of cops and whether it be our parents or not, person in the community,
Mm-hmm.
elder in the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
We know some elders collectively, boomers, okay, boomer, they have a bad rep right now.
Mm-hmm.
But you have those elders who could walk down the street, get docked up by all of the youth. Why? Their work shows, they taking those stances, and they continuously prove the behavioral patterns. And so they exude that. Unfortunately, tokenism exists in a lot of different ways. And I wouldn't even equate that to tokenism because it's too far. But for anybody watching to kind of help get an idea of what I'm trying to get to
Mm-hmm.
is that you have to mirror those behaviors. And that's why pick-me's become pick-me's, tokens become tokens, and everybody becomes what they are because it's like, even when you talk about business, people in business like to show me. So whether you're white, black, or whatever, it comes down to, are you who you say you are?
Mm-hmm.
And if you have not expressed who you say you are, I don't trust you because there is a level of trust when it comes down to taking a person's guidance and being in that space. What I'm saying though is that once a person has shown that, we still have people, unfortunately, who are cognitively dissonant in the sense that people will say, "Oh, we're our next leaders. We're the next X and we're the next that." I see them all day, every day. Whether they be from the elder community, whether they be in youth, they just get exiled based on it not being a norm and accepted. People keep saying, "Where are they?" They're here. They're here. They're just right beneath your nose because you all want to say one thing, but oh, it is what it is. We just want to play the game. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. You can't say on one hand where everybody at, but you niggas still playing the game. Because the person who understands the risk, who is on your side, is saying, like I always tell people with the Colin Kaepernick stuff and all that, y'all niggas still watching sports. You show what you willing to put up with, and you show to the people who are willing to fight for you, like, y'all still going through that. Y'all still going to side with the people who has shown us repeatedly, not just once.
Mm-hmm.
Once can be a mistake. Repeatedly that they are not in our interest.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot has to be said about that. I don't think that conversation gets had enough in terms of the complicity in the electorate. Because people want to talk about the complicity in the GOP, the complicity in the DNC, the complicity in corrupt corporations. People want to talk about Bezos. People want to talk about all this. Let's talk about how y'all, not only do y'all support it, y'all don't even try to find a way around supporting them.
You can sell on next day shipping.
Convenience.
That is a marketing. That is a marketing advantage. If you can't get next day shipping, it's pretty hard to show, and that goes back to fast fashion. And that, but this kind of I can tie fast fashion into fashion over into Cardi B. But I feel like at this point,
Isn't she a brand ambassador for them?
Yeah, she is. But I feel like that was a great way to end this, for real. Because we have covered a great deal of ground. And that Candace Owens is a complicated figure. She knows what she's doing. She has a great deal of agency. She's inflammatory. She can be parental and dismissive of black poverty and opportunistic in exploiting the ignorance of a Cardi B with the Ben Shapiro show. But that shouldn't undermine the credibility that she brings to her message. That's my takeaway. Cardi B, I question her sincerity in what she does because it feels very PR. I haven't heard anything about or for Offset. Cardi B feels like the way of introducing the aspiring POC, black POC, non-POC, ADOS young woman who doesn't know or had access to people who are on professional tracks to say that she can make it too if she acts like Cardi. And that's where Cardi becomes a bit deceptive to me. But I can respect where Cardi comes on and she talks about how people with affluence and their vices, and how vices is where people really get paid, and how people get paid through vices. So it's a very honest look into American pop culture life and American psyche. Donald Trump, for me, is extending the powers of the presidency. He's trying. That's why I did that metaphor with the king thing.
I agree. Deregulation is that.
Yeah, he's seeing how far the president can go and see how strong the other institutions are, which will challenge anybody who knows anything about kings and kingdoms. He's basically challenging his nobles. He's challenging the judges. He's challenging the legislators to see how far he can go and push the economy in favor of corporations that back him. But Joe Biden, with that, is the vote blue no matter who. Kamala Harris is the identity politics and quote unquote hashtag target into universalism dream. Is that if we have someone who quote unquote looks like the person who was underrepresented, discriminated, if we have someone who looks like and have this narrative, then maybe they won't be the colonized intellectual that Franz Fanon talks about. Maybe they won't be the person that hurts people or use their identity as a way to play in. And so when we look at that, the Uncle Joe, we see how no matter whether you are a white liberal or whether you are a white conservative, economically you're still inside of the boardroom, but you're inside of different boardrooms fighting for different issues. Now, when you're ADOS or Black American, the likelihood of you having a name that is ADOS and Black American, along with that narrative of coming from inner city poverty or rural poverty, is very slim to none. It's very slim to none. So when we talk about Black representation, we need to talk about the representation of region, and we need to talk about the representation of economy and their access to education levels. We have Condoleezza Rice, who is now the head of Hoover Institute, which is very conservative. But we have those ADOS members who do achieve highly, but aren't included in Black excellence. Whereas we will take a Michelle Obama, who hasn't worked in the same capacity as a Condoleezza Rice, and put a Michelle Obama message over Condoleezza Rice, or more importantly, will exclude a Condoleezza Rice narrative for Michelle Obama narrative.
Agree on all of those. And I think for myself, the takeaways more so are just about how to navigate it. And I would tell people to, one, have more abrasive conversations, have more curious conversations in the sense that you ask people questions and you are more genuine in the questions that you ask. Because a lot of people feel these things and feel the disposition and feel it, but because we are bred in this society where going against the grain and being docile in a lot of ways. Uh, we don't have the conversations necessary to understand what we're talking about. Because a lot of people will say, well, y'all just being divisive, or y'all not speaking down to this group of people. And it's like, I don't have an issue with any group of people, but I do know for a fact that a lot of people, if not all other groups, look down on African Americans for whatever reason they have specifically, whether that be the messaging that America spreads abroad, that they have no control over about us, whether it be them coming into the nation and taking their own without doing the due diligence and understanding where we come from as a group. I just would love for people to, not only us as African Americans, but for people outside the group to really, really begin to understand how, again, you perpetuate the same cycles that you complain about. I get it. I get we're all trying to survive. I get we're all trying to make it, but understand that people account for that. I don't hate Trump. I think it's, again, we're gonna do the watch parties because this is going to be very entertaining. But in terms of Trump, I don't hate Trump because the same reason I don't hate a Muriel Bowser, the same reason I don't hate a Kamala Harris, the same reason I don't hate a Condoleezza Rice or Candace Owens or Cardi B. I think some of them are ignorant. I think some of them have malicious intent. But I know why both are doing what they're doing. Because it's all coming down to the same bottom line of commodifying the industry, exploiting the ignorance, and you have people mad, like you said, people love to throw away Candace Owens. I think she's ignorant, but she is African American. I think Condoleezza Rice, I don't have as many issues with Condoleezza Rice. I think politically we just misalign. But I respect her in terms of what she's been able to accomplish as an African American person. I can't discard her for that. And I think we unfortunately discard people one way or another way too often. A lot of the times people don't have a conversation as we were talking the other day. My issue comes in where, again, you have even African Americans who don't want to listen to the aspect of poverty. Mm-hmm. And I think they're just as problematic, if not more problematic, than the white people who they complain about. And the reason why we don't get on here and just flap off at white people, because the same way I know Trump is trash, the same way I know the majority of white people are blind in terms of when it comes to this. But part of why they're blind is because we have African Americans who placate not only to POCs, but white people, and will hold down people who aren't quote unquote black excellence in the sake of holding up a narrative that isn't true, and you become a slave to your exceptionalism. Because now you have to keep up that, and we know it's not true. So that's what my biggest thing is like, y'all can continue to pass, do y'all, but know that it comes with a consequence. Know that it's not in your favor. Know that I am going to love watching the tears fall from people's eyes because they think that they're getting away and they think that they're coming up. And the only thing you're coming up into is the bottom cast. So please continue to do that. Because I want to be here as an old man. If y'all don't align yourselves with us, African Americans, and begin to have these conversations, white people, destroy Chocolate City, take advantage, and do what y'all do. Spread the Anglo-American dream across the whole world. I will watch you in spirit because you know what? People say there was an existential crisis, but they allowed my people to die. and you all will suffer and bear the consequence of not acting when it wasn't you. And that's what I would say in terms of passing culturally and passing the buck. Joe Biden, one last word to black women. If y'all want protectors, stop trying to police how I deliver. Stop trying to police male energy. Fuck Joe Biden. You have to accept that. Because I say it because he did harm to us. And I love you and us. You want protector or do you not? Good night. Thank you for coming. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Gilded Sages. Like the video, share the video. I don't see any participants in queue to call. Next time, again, y'all always free to chop it up, call in. We would much love it. But with that being said, thank you for everybody who did tune in, though. We do appreciate that. We would definitely appreciate it if you share it. And again, we just try to build from here in the environment that we're in. And y'all enjoy the rest of y'all evening. As you can see, we have had our libations. So y'all go ahead and get to y'all libations. And we're going to see y'all next week.